If you've got a fever, the only prescription is more cowbell. But if you need to cure your blues, you better see Dr. Ben. He's my guest on today's episode.
Reluctantly.
This podcast reluctantly sponsored by ThompsonMortgages.com. Get a better rate, term, and service for your 2026 mortgage renewal. Concept Clothing and Culture. CONXEPPT.com. And Wendy Campbell, Realtor with BlackmoreRealEstate.ca. Also a Realtor partner with Rowett New Home Builders.
Reluctantly.
Dr. Ben, pleasure to meet you.
It's a delight to be on your program. Thank you so much for inviting me, Terry.
Well, I've had a lot of musicians on, and I find every one of them remarkable. And some are a little more household names, if you will, than others. But I think incredible stories deserve to be told, and I think yours is one of them. It might not be Tom Cochrane crashing an airplane, but
I hope not.
but I think your story is pretty cool. Dr. Ben Chan, and you are, first of all, a blues artist, or
Yes, I am.
or is that second of all? Should I say that you're first of all a doctor?
Yes, I am a medical doctor. That's been one of my many life passions. It's hard to choose between the different things that you feel passionate about, but certainly at the same time, music has been an enormous part of my life, right from my childhood. My adolescence, my adulthood, music has always been a big part of who I am.
Just to take care of it right off the top, you're a medical doctor, but you're also a blues artist, and you've just released a new single.
That's right.
It's called "Cure Your Blues." It's available on Apple Music, Amazon Music, and YouTube as well.
Yep, and Spotify. Yeah.
So I know you've just been releasing music for maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
That's right. Yeah, just a year and a half.
How long have you been playing music for?
I've been playing music pretty much from my childhood. I started off in classical piano for many years. I played violin in high school, and then I picked up the guitar when I was in university. And it all started when my roommate pulled out this guitar from under his bed. It was a beautiful Gibson Les Paul. He knew about 6 chords. And I thought, can I play around with this? And because I had played violin, I was used to string instruments. I thought, oh, wow, this is awesome. This feels amazing. And from there, from those university days, I fell in love with the guitar. I played in different garage bands, campus bands, and I wrote my first songs when I was a student. That was about 35 years ago. This song was my very first song. It was written 35 years ago. I'd been dreaming all this time to release it, and now it's finally out there.
Cure Your Blues was just a song of 35 years in the making. Wow, that's incredible.
Right.
So I'm trying to kind of put a timeline together. Did you grow up in Canada?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I grew up in Toronto, and I went to school, University of Toronto. Spent about 3 years in the States for graduate school as well, but pretty much my entire time has been in Canada, and raised my family here. I've worked both in Toronto as well as across our beautiful country. And one of the things I love to do professionally is to work as a traveling doctor, which has taken me to now like 7 provinces and territories.
Well, we'll get to that, because that also is pretty remarkable as well. Back to the guitar under your roommate's bed or your university friend's bed, and he knew 6 chords. Wow, he must have been a pretty good guitar player. 6 chords. Most people only knew 3. So it's a Les Paul, one of the heaviest guitars you can play. Did you go down the Les Paul road, or did you stray? Or were you Ibanez? Were you a Fender guy, a Strat?
I started off with a Strat, and I got a Squire Strat, which was affordable for my price range as a student back then, but it was a great guitar, and I still have it as great sentimental value to me. I play bass as well, and I've got a Fender jazz bass as well. And I got into some of the hard stuff. There's some great guitars like, well, Jimmy Page and all the old Ozzy Osbourne songs. I used to love playing those note for notes. And later I fell in love with the blues, and Stevie Ray Vaughan was a huge influence on me.
I don't know. I've seen a bunch of doctors in my day for one reason or another, just checkups or hangnails or broken bones and all kinds of weird stuff. But I don't think I could picture any of them with a guitar in their hand, never mind shredding some Randy Rhoads or Zach Wilde or something like that. How many Ozzy songs do you know? Like, do you go down the Black Sabbath rabbit hole, or what? Like, what are you
I like the
into?
Black Sabbath, but Randy Rhoads was, I think he's one of the greatest guitarists of all time. And in fact, somewhere in my library here, I still have some of those note for note tablatures that I'd study diligently. So all the great classics like Crazy Train and Mr. Crawley, all those, that was great stuff.
Did you have a family pressure or anything like that? Was there ever any talk about straying from the medical profession and going straight into the musical profession, or was that always a secondary thing?
It's not anything that really crossed my mind at that time. I was just playing just for the pure joy of playing. There's just an amazing feeling when you hear a great song on the radio. You run out and those days buy the vinyl and you listen it for hours, and then to actually pick up a guitar and actually try to produce something that sounds like that's just an incredible feeling. So that was all I was really looking for in those early days. Not to make a career. I just loved the feel and the sound of having a guitar in my hands.
Did you ever think about doing any writing when you were really young and sitting at the piano? Did it start there, or like you mentioned, the Cure Your Blues is 35 years? So, how long have you been writing your own songs?
Yeah, no, that never really crossed my mind. Classical piano was really rigorous. You're just trying to nail down each of those little riffs and get the right dynamics. And I just thought wasn't anything that I had thought about. And it was only later in my student years that out of somewhere, I'm not quite sure where, I got this urge to start writing. And the first song it was a breakup song, Cure Your Blues. And, those early years when, before I met my wonderful wife, when I was, lonely and looking for a partner, those miserable years were great years for fueling creativity. So a lot of my stuff, my early stuff was written in those years.
You mentioned being in some bands back in your university days, or around that time, then becoming a bit pre-med and then further education to get to the point where you are today. What was your image? The reason I ask is Gord Steinke, who's now retired, was a global news anchor. He's a good friend of mine, and he was in a band all through it, and he played bass and he sang, but every night at 6 o'clock, I watched Gord with his eye on at the news desk, and he was presenting us with, whatever was happening at city council or the news of the world or whatever. And he was always clean cut because he had been clean shaven, never had any facial hair. Did you ever have long hair? Did you ever have a mustache or big pork chop sideburns or anything like that to go with your rock and roll image?
Oh no, certainly no, certainly no facial hair. Yeah, it's an interesting you make that observation that you have an anchor that has one very serious and professional side, and this amazing, playful, soulful side that comes through the music. And I thought about that, do I have a different persona when I'm a doctor and a different persona when I'm a musician? I don't think so. I try to be the same person and across both of those spheres, because, when we work as doctors, we listen and process a lot of stuff that's happening in people's lives, and it brings out all kinds of different feelings and emotions that you have to think about and process and deal with. And I see music as being very much part of the same process. That's just you're living different parts of being a human being and expressing that through your music.
Let me tell you about my mortgage broker for a moment. Mike at ThompsonMortgages.com has been client-focused for over 17 years. They take care of all the financial components of your real estate purchase so that you can concentrate on finding the perfect home. Whether you're a first-time buyer or renewing like so many other people in 2026, let ThompsonMortgages.com work for you. They find the lender, and it costs you nothing for their services. The lender pays. Download the app and get pre-approved in 60 seconds. ThompsonMortgages.com, 780-413-6743. Tell them you heard about them on the Reluctantly podcast.
Reluctantly.
This podcast is reluctantly sponsored by Wendy Campbell, realtor at blackmorerealestate.ca, serving the greater Edmonton area, proudly Canadian and locally owned. Contact Wendy at blackmorerealestate.ca. That's WENDE at blackmorerealestate.ca. Why does she not have a Y in her name? I don't know why. It's none of my business, probably none of yours too. Wendy has over 20 years of home sales experience. She has extensive knowledge of the new and previously owned home market. She can help you out with a free market evaluation of your home. And if you're looking to buy your forever home, she's got all the resources to help you with that as well. Not to mention, she's a builder partner with Rowett Homes. Wendy at blackmorerealestate.ca. WENDE at blackmorerealestate.ca.
Reluctantly.
Obviously, you had to have gotten good enough that you were playing in front of people, and whether you were playing your own music in front of people or covers or whatever the case, you had to get to a point where you felt confident enough that you could start to record things. What was that? Was it at the urging of fans or of people in the audience, or was it something that you just had an underlying sort of desire to do it on your own?
Well, it's quite an interesting story because, as I said, I've been wanting to do something with my music for over 30 years, from the time when I first started writing. And then, of course, one gets busy with getting married, kids, buying a house, taking the kids to baseball practices. And yeah, we would, I'd have a garage band in my neighborhood, and we'd play the occasional gig. And that was great fun. But I don't think even though I had this great dream, I didn't quite take it really seriously. And I think someday I'd come back to it. And then when the pandemic hit, I think that was a turning point for me. And one was I spent all this time in my studio because we were locked down. And I started picking my guitars. And then I started writing again. And during the pandemic, out on our street, we would throw street parties every day because everybody on our street, we were going crazy being locked up all day. And that was just a phenomenal outlet. So I really reconnected with my music. And so much so that, my friends, my family said, Ben, you gotta do something. And then that's when I took the plunge and said, okay, I'm going to record an album. I'm going to record some songs. I'm going to put this, all this music that's been in my head onto some tracks, and let's see what happens with it.
You had a few songwriting competitions. Was that before or after the pandemic? Because you won a couple, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. So I recorded, I've got I've released 5 songs now. I've got another 4 or 5 waiting to be released. So after I went and recorded with Toronto producer Doug Romano, just a phenomenal individual. Then I started submitting my music to different competitions, and I also made some music videos as well. So I won an award from the Europe Music Video Festival for first new work, and a silver prize in the Mid-Atlantic Songwriting Contest. And so that came after I had gotten my music professionally recorded.
What kind of doctor are you? General practitioner? Are you a surgeon? What do you do?
A good old-fashioned general practitioner, and what I love is rural medicine. So the irony is I live in Toronto, but I work exclusively in small towns. So I'll drive or fly a few hours outside of the city, work for a few days, mostly in emergency departments. But in small towns, you as a doctor have to do everything. You work in the hospital, looking after inpatients. You work in the clinic, the nursing home, do the odd house call. And you're not just restricted to one little part of the body. You have to look at every different specialty, and often you're the only doctor in town when you're on call. But it's amazing because you're never bored. You see the full breadth of medicine, and so that's what I do. And I've traveled all across the country, as I mentioned. I'm doing this type of work.
And you're still currently doing that? Like, do you have an itinerary or a schedule coming up that you could just give me the general areas that you're going or towns that you're going to or parts of Canada or
Yep,
whatever?
this coming weekend, and I'm going up for a couple of days to the Grey Bruce area. Some shifts coming up in a small town called Durham and another small town called Chesley. So I'd spent a lot of time in that region. I've worked extensively in Northern Ontario. I've worked now in every rural emergency department in Northern Ontario. So I guess some people like collecting stamps. I like collecting prescription pads. But it's an amazing way to see the country. There's just so much to discover. Every time I go out and work, I check out the local parks, the water sports, meet people, interesting people, go for beautiful hikes. We've got such an amazing country, and I feel so lucky to have a job that allows me to explore it.
With that vocation, did it come about because there's a lack of doctors that are in the smaller rural communities? Is it, do you spend time in Indigenous communities as well? Well, like, what is I guess, the need that you are filling?
The need is almost always great in these smaller communities. So they traditionally have struggled with attracting enough doctors and other health professionals to these areas. So there's always a demand. Either somebody is ill or wants vacation time, or they just need a break. And so it feels good to be able to provide that service for places that are feeling that type of need. Indigenous communities, absolutely. I worked extensively in the Sioux Lookout and Moose Factory zones. Those are two major zones set up or designated by the federal government, where health services are delivered to people in these communities that are so remote they typically don't have road access. So there's one community that I worked in as a fly-in family doctor for about 4 years. It was about 3 flights from Toronto to get there. Usually the last one is on a float plane, or in the winter a plane with skis. And so I'd go up there about 1 week a month and look after the medical needs for the small town.
Yeah, and you mentioned that sometimes you're up there and you're in place of a doctor that is either on vacation or on leave for some reason, whatever the case. Is that a program that many other doctors are a part of as well as yourself?
For sure. And the different provinces have set up different coordinating groups to help match doctors like myself with the communities that are in greatest need at any time.
How old are your kids, and how many kids do you have? How old are they?
I have 2 boys. They're in their 20s. My eldest is studying his PhD in international relations, and my youngest is in 3rd year at McMaster in the sciences in kinesiology.
Awesome. How did that affect your family life if you're going off at a week at a time every month to a town that's 3 flights away and float planes and that sort of thing? Was that something that was easy to get through or embraced by your family?
They've been amazingly supportive, more so when they were younger. Whenever I could, I take the whole family up with them, and then that was a great opportunity for them to be exposed to different parts of our country.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, having the opportunity to go up there with your family, I suppose, is a completely different dynamic than it would be if you're just, leaving everybody at home in Toronto and then all of a sudden you're gone for a week, you're back for a weekend, then you're gone for another week. Or it's pretty remarkable. And then it's close to 100 communities. Is that what I read that you've been to? Like you said, you're collecting prescription pads.
Well, I had to count. So the exact count is 97. And I had to count because in my song, I've Been Everywhere, and the cover of that classic country song, I rewrote it to fit in all the communities that I had worked in. So And I thought, okay, how am I going to squeeze these 97 communities, the names of these 97 communities into 3 minutes and 10 seconds? So yeah, that's how I know the exact know the exact number.
Hey, give me a minute to tell you about Concept Clothing and Culture. CONXEPPT.com. Suits and tuxedos. And you can find them right here in Edmonton. They're handmade suits, custom tuxedos, tailored essentials, suits starting at $1,188. You choose everything: the color, the fabric, even the stuff on the inside. You know, the little pokey pocket thing that sticks out. It's amazing. It's a terrific experience. You can go through and get something as fancy as a tuxedo, or you can start with outerwear, matching sets, tailored essentials. They even do shirts, trousers, vests, and they do amazing couture for women. CONXEPPT.com. Concept Clothing and Culture. Look your best.
Reluctantly.
With healthcare being provincial, do you find yourself primarily in Ontario, or do like you've been all across Canada, have you not?
Yes, that's right. Right now, mostly Ontario. I have most recently was back in PEI a couple of summers ago. My family and I were just planning where our next family adventure might be, maybe a part of the country we haven't been to yet.
Do you ever ever pop into any jams during your your week in whichever small town? Is there ever a pub that has a back line and there's a bass player and somebody on keyboards where you can go up and do a few songs?
Yeah, there are, and sometimes they're jams. But what I love to do is to check out which of the places in the communities that I work have live music, and look for opportunities to gig, often in the same towns that I'm working in as a doctor. And that's a great experience as well, because in these communities, they are just enormously appreciative of having live music locally.
You play in cafes and clubs, the odd gig, odd live gig. Do you have a full band that supports you?
Right now, for my live act, I've mainly been performing as a solo acoustic performer. But that's one of the big things that I hope to do in the coming year, is to start performing with a full band. And especially some of my songs, like Cure Your Blues, or some of my other singles, Come to My Rescue. They sound great with a full band. They are hard rocking blues songs, and so they really need to have a great rhythm section. So that's the next big goal for me, to do that. And then start pitching the act to showcases and festivals. That would be, I think, the next stage for me.
Have you got a local pub that, like I was just asking about jams and whatnot when you're out traveling and being a doctor? Do you have a local pub that you go to on the regular that you go up and play?
There's several places in the Grey Bruce area that I'm not sure if I call it a regular, but I've played there more than a few times, and so they've been tremendously receptive. Yeah, in Toronto, Drum Taberna, big shout out for them. They're very supportive of new emerging indie musicians. I've had the opportunity to perform there a couple of times.
On your website, you've got 5 songs listed. "Fib and Me," which I like the heartbeat at the beginning of that, which, I mean, you take into consideration you're a doctor, for God's sakes, and a heartbeat to start out the song. "I've Been Everywhere," which is the cover, and you rewrote it with all of the places that you've been through your medical practice. "Come to My Rescue," "Walk with Me," and "Cure Your Blues," the new one that's been released. So are those the 5 so far, or is there a hidden EP or album somewhere? I know you talked about having some other songs together. Are you planning on an album?
Yes, I am planning on an album. So, yeah, there will be other songs coming up that I will release as a single, and then package them together as an album with other songs that'll come out together. But I guess the core part of these songs is that most of them are very much related to the work that I do and the things that I've experienced and felt during my time on the traveling doctor circuit.
And then I saw that you also sometimes perform at nursing homes, and
Yes.
it's interesting. You said a lot of times you get up and you end up doing an acoustic set or an acoustic performance of some sort. But when you take your acoustic guitar into a nursing home, tell me about that experience for you, and then I'll ask you another question about performing at a nursing home. What is it like for you going in and playing for people who are in that situation?
Well, it was actually the first place that I started performing in after I had this big epiphany at the time of COVID, and it made sense because, as we know, the nursing homes were hit so hard during COVID. It was a terrible situation. So, what it's one of the places that needed cheering up more than anywhere else. As a new performer, I mean, all performers have jitters that we need to get out of ourselves, and it was just a nice, it was a nice, comfortable place to begin playing. And they're just so appreciative of having music. The moment you start playing, and then somebody, I remember the first time I played, and then there was somebody in a wheelchair, and he was trying to move along to the beat, and then one of the workers would lift them up and help them, put in a few steps. Just watching that unfold as you're performing, those experiences are priceless. So it's always a pleasure to play in places like that.
Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters said, "If you're going to go and start a band, if you're a kid and you want to start a band, if for that matter, you could even be an adult and someone middle aged or whatever the case, just go out in your garage and start playing and suck, and just keep playing and keep sucking until you suck less, and
Yeah,
then you suck a little bit less, and then all of a sudden." You don't suck quite as bad as you used to, and then all of a sudden you can go out of your garage and then do that. But I think we may have inadvertently run into something that's a kind of a revelation. Let's consider the a nursing home. You know, you go in there, you're a little nervous. They're looking for companionship or at least something out of the norm to pass their day if they're stuck in there, especially in the COVID situation. But that's a great way for someone who's apprehensive about beginning to perform in front of people. Like when you think about it, how many times do kids or, elementary school kids or they go in and do a little performance at a nursing home, and the people in the nursing home who are being cared for absolutely love it, and the appreciation is there. So even if you sucked at garage level suck, you might still get a standing O from those who can at a nursing home, right?
for sure. And that's probably great advice for anybody that is starting out at any age. Just get out there, play, make mistakes. Don't start making mistakes in front of Carnegie Hall, but find a place where you can make a mistake and find a forgiving audience. But an audience that will also be appreciative. And it's like anything. The more that you do this, the better you become, the more confident you feel. This is still very much a work in progress for me. But yeah, the more I perform, the more I get out there, the bigger and bigger the places that I play, the more comfortable I feel out there as a performer.
I want to thank you on two levels. Obviously, your medical practice and helping people in need and traveling to rural places that sometimes, oh, I mean, we've heard the stories. Sometimes rural places go without care and you have to travel hours and hours to see a general practitioner, never mind a specialist or anything like that. So thank you very much for that, first of all. And second, thank you for your art, your music, your entertainment, and your passion to do this. While I'm sure being a doctor keeps you very busy. So, in your free time, when you're able to share it with people like that through art and through music, I think it's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
drbenmusic.com is your website. Cure Your Blues is the new song available on Apple Music, Amazon Music, and on YouTube. It was a real treat talking to you today, Dr. Ben.
Thank you so much.
Reluctantly.
This podcast reluctantly sponsored by ThompsonMortgages.com. Get a better rate, term, and service for your 2026 mortgage renewal. Concept Clothing and Culture, CONXEPPT.com. And Wendy Campbell, Realtor with BlackmoreRealEstate.ca. Also a Realtor partner with Rowett New Home Builders.
Reluctantly.